post-mortem, an examination of a dead body to determine the cause of death.
In this generation, no game ever truly dies, unless developers themselves pull the plugs on the servers. In today's Post-mortem, that's exactly what happened. Post-mortem will now analyze Infinite Crisis. Before we tackle Infinite Crisis, we need to know about the company behind it, Turbine. Turbine is an iconic company with a hit-and-miss track record. Creators of such titles as Ashran's Call and then Ashran's Call 2. Creators of Lord of the Rings Online, Dungeons & Dragons Online, which caught fire as the forerunner of free-to-play games in the West, but was soon overshadowed as the West began to embrace free-to-play more openly. With only one relevant title, Turbine was in dire need of help, and that help came in 2010 as Turbine was formally acquired by Warner Bros. Studios. No longer operating privately has its perks, however, big studios want big returns on investments, and Warner Bros. Was no different. As the world began to catch MOBA fever from the absolute juggernaut that was League of Legends, Warner Bros. Clearly wanted a piece of the action. Warner Bros. Had three things: a desire for cash, a studio in Turbine that wasn't actively creating titles, and one of the most iconic IPs in history, DC Comics. And in 2013, Warner Bros. And Turbine announced that they would be creating a traditional MOBA-style game using DC characters called Infinite Crisis. Now, the MOBA scene was quite different 3 years ago, and the announcement of a new MOBA title wasn't seen as a negative as it is today. Many news sites such as Kotaku felt the game could be the next massive hit on the MOBA scene. Many felt at this point, all Turbine needed to do was to make a game as smooth as League of Legends with DC characters and they would have a hit on their hands. Unfortunately, that proved a little easier said than done. Closed beta arrived and early impressions were mixed. Graphics were unfinished, controls and skill shots felt unresponsive, and the item shop was confusing to most players. To add, most were confused that they couldn't find the standard 3-lane MOBA experience because it wasn't in the game yet. And the only option that was currently in beta was a capture and hold mode called Gotham Heights, a mode that Riot recently did away with due to unpopularity. From March 2013 all the way to January 2014, Infinite Crisis beta bled players until they finally release Gotham Divided. You rarely get a second chance to make your first impression, so it's unclear why they decided to release their League of Legends killer without the primary game mode. But finally, Gotham Divided was here. Or was it? In another bizarre move, Gotham Divided, the mode that everyone wanted to play, was only available to founders who paid $99 for the privilege. All other founder packs lacked this option. This created what I have dubbed the matchmaking death spiral. So few people had access to the mode, so queue times were insane, if they ever popped. And the games that did finally open were unusually unbalanced player skill-wise. However, finally, 2 months later, they opened the mode via an open beta, but that's when the real issue with Infinite Crisis began to emerge. Infinite Crisis had a player population problem, a massive one. The negative feedback from beta about poor graphic quality, control, sluggishness were all solved in various patches. However, people simply weren't playing. Feedback at the time ranged from, "We don't want to play 3 Batmans and 3 Green Lanterns," to, "I've invested too much time in League of Legends and Dota 2, and of course, I'm waiting for Heroes of the Storm," which would launch just a couple of months after Infinite Crisis. Infinite Crisis would launch on March 26, 2015, with a curious omission. Gotham Divided, the primary mode of MOBA players, would only be available via custom matches due to player population concerns. The only mode available via matchmaking would be Coast City, a 2-lane map similar to Twisted Treeline from League of Legends. Now, it's hard to point to a single issue that caused the downfall of Infinite Crisis. Was it the lack of a traditional MOBA mode? Was it the DC multiverse? Was it players' reluctance to leave their primary MOBA? Was it Turbine's handling of the beta? Or was it blame Blizzard with Heroes of the Storm? Whatever the exact reason, Infinite Crisis arrived on Steam with a decently solid all-time peak of 6,800 users. However, every single month, players left in droves. After month 2, the player count was 1,700 players. Month 3, 800 players. And by month 4, only 170 players on average were playing Infinite Crisis. On June 2nd, Turbine announced that they would be closing down Infinite Crisis for what would have to be the fastest a major published game was shut down at only 4 months' time. Once again, a post-mortem analysis isn't to say that a title is dead or will never see updates, but sometimes it is. My name is FG3000, and thank you for watching.